that actually had put up a video call, and I really was sitting here thinking, man, I should hit that button and make that video call, but the app wants me to pay extra money for the video call, and I'm like, nah, I'm not wasting that kind of money right now. So I didn't follow through with it. Then I went back and I read the profile, and then the profile looks like that's more of a service, not actually intent for connection. You really got to check out these bios because the bios really set you up for failure if you don't read what the bios are about. So after I seen the bio, and I'm like, oh, that's disappointing. Then I moved on to some other apps. Either way, the what ifs started flooding in. Break another leg, right? Because I think he already broke one. Yo, what's up, Steven? We actually just got started. Um, the camera's working this time. The camera's working this time. We had to. I was telling everybody when I first got in here, we actually had to um, re-download Microsoft Edge. Even though we updated Google Chrome, it did not. The camera does not function off the browser, and I don't know why. So I started using Microsoft Edge, and I had to re-download Microsoft Edge in order to get the camera to function. So now the camera's functioning. But earlier today, I noticed that the camera was on and not attached to anything. So you know what that means. You know, something's allowing something to third party turn on my camera without my knowledge or consent, which means that I have to shut down everything. And that one of the reasons why I keep my webcam blocking my actual cam. But this is the same thing that happened when they hacked into everybody's FaceTime on their iPhones. They said everybody's devices is working now. You can lock in. All right. So I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I got everything reset, got it all working today, and I only started 10 minutes late today. But you know, I'm always starting some kind of. I get it started eventually. Uh, But after we start going through those paralyzing experiences, because we're talking about those first date scenarios, and I know that you guys, some of y'all are married, the rest of y'all not even interested in going out on those dates anymore, so you're not even really paying attention to those first date feelings anymore. But there are some of y'all that actually still experience this as you start going towards that date, getting that. You said I muted. No, I'm not muted. No, I see the mic working. You say you muted. I think I can't hear you. Nope, it's got nothing to do with me being muted because I can see that my mic bar is working over here, so I'm not muted. But maybe you should turn your volume up. That might help. Uh, troubleshooting. Let's see. He said, nope, nope. I got sound. I got a few devices that double check to make sure that I've got the video quality and the sound and everything like that. But it's so I got it. I can hear me and I can hear you if you say something on the camera. So let's go on. Those feelings like what if I'm awkward? What if I run out of things to say? What if they think my laugh is weird? What if I spill something on my shirt? What if they just don't like me? These are the things that people go through on their first dates. First and foremost, I I wear suits everywhere, and I make it a point to bring a backup with me just in case something happens. He says, it was me, my bad. I had to rejoin. Yeah, that happens. So look, everybody's having glitches today. Oh, Twitter, Elon had posted on Twitter today for everybody with Twitter to update the profile. So take time out of your day to go and update Twitter X. And then he says something about at Glock or Grok or something like that for some type of image, whatever. I don't know, but I'm gonna look into it after the show because I don't want to have bad video quality on Twitter, so I'll figure it out. But since I'm on Twitter, hey guys with Twitter, update your Twitter app today. But what I was saying about the extra shirt, because if you spill something on your shirt, you're typically stuck with that for the rest of the day. Now, depending upon how clumsy you are, because fellas, this is for you guys. Um, Not necessarily for the ladies, but ladies, I mean, y'all could potentially bring an extra outfit, but y'all be wearing dresses and shirts, whatever, whatever. If you get your outfit, man, you got to go back home and change the entire outfit. It's completely done. But for us, typically outside of those gentlemen who don't have a goatee that can catch some of the stuff that spills off of the mouth and drips off of the goatee, uh, you end up getting a splash on your shirt. If you're lucky, it splashes on your tie, and then you can just take your tie off. But sometimes it splashes on your shirt in an awkward position, right up at the chest area where everybody can see the spillage. Right now, I clearly this wasn't what the show was about today, but I'm sidestepping on this real quick. And I clearly take an extra shirt. If I plan on going somewhere to eat, if I plan on going somewhere to drink, and I'm planning on doing something after that, I bring an extra shirt. Typically, there's a duffel bag in the truck like Hitman, where there's a whole nother suit. There's a whole nother suit in there. So this suit could get covered in blood, and I got a spare suit in a duffel bag next to a body bag in the truck. That's where once this scenario is over, I can burn this outfit, put on another. But no, seriously, I always bring an extra. And the reason why I bring an extra for two reasons, three reasons really. But the first two reasons are key. The one reason is because it is going to happen that if you go somewhere to eat, that there's a high probability that you're going to get something on your clothes. Food, usually. Again, if you're going somewhere to drink, there's a high probability that you or someone else is going to get something on your clothes, especially if there's a probability to bump into somebody else in the establishment. Then the third one, the toxic one, is that usually in certain situations, if you're with the wrong female, she will throw something on you, and you're supposed to allow that to happen and not backslap her. And as a result, if you had somewhere to be after this particular scenario, it's more appropriate instead of beating her up for that, that you just take that shirt and put it in the car, put on a different outfit, and continue living your life and not be affected by her immature behavior. So I typically bring more than one spare shirt and an undershirt because if you someone throws drinks on you, it's going to go through both outfits. Both outfits are going to be wet. He says the glove fixes the run. So here's the thing about gloves. Leather gloves, if you get them to fit tightly, right? Extremely tightly. If you saturate that bad boy, it shrinks. So the glove that did it is not going to fit. So Cochran proved that it's not going to fit. If you get one that's oversized and all comfortable and loose, then yeah, it'll fit. But if you get one that's glove tight, like clinging to your hand, and you saturate that bad boy, it shrinks. The material shrinks, and then it doesn't fit. So I but yeah, I typically carry extra outfit because things happen. Now, I also know that some of these that I was talking about, like what about the smile? What about what about the laugh? Whatever. I have from time to time, I have mastered this evil villain laugh. So there is opportunities where my chuckle will weird out the other person, and I don't give a fuck. I will put my diabolical laugh together in a fashion where if you're not creeped out, we're gonna get along really good. So uh, I put that out there. But the thing is that when you're thinking about this spiral of anxiety is exhausting and incredibly common amongst all people because, in fact, a poll has found that nearly 90% of single adults admit to getting the jitters before a first date. And another survey showed that for nearly 7 in 10 women and 1 in 3 men, dating is a leading source of stress. So I want you guys to understand that this is a serious topic for everyone. So ladies, I got information for y'all as much as I got information for the fellas, but I also want you ladies to know that this is typically a 70% male driven podcast from the male's perspective. So while I do talk about both sides of the fence unilaterally, ladies, I'm here giving the guys advice about being higher value men, but you ladies can take this advice and be higher value ladies as well because this information is not exclusive to a specific gender. But I want the fellas to listen to this so that they can get right. So if you ladies know what's going on, y'all like, hey, all right, they tightening up. So that means I got to tighten up too. Think about it now. So this anxiety can suck all the joy out of what should be an exciting chance to connect. Which another thing, guys, we got to think about this too. We have to change our mentality to connecting, not to the goal of trying to get laid. Because if we focus more on connecting with the other person and making sure that the other person is what we want, we don't seem desperate. That thirst meter, the more effort you're putting into trying to get laid, the more likely they're going to detect that you're trying to get laid, which implies that you don't get laid, and that is extremely unattractive, which is weird because while women would prefer that men not have the same body count that women have, the women also want a man that is wanted by other women. So if that man doesn't have a laundry list of women after him, then he must not be valuable, which is weird. I've never figured that out. Micah said, even at 70, picking her up at the nursing home and having her back at 8 p.m. Butterflies in the stomach. Man, first of all, why you picking her up at the nursing home? Because the nursing home got a community bus, and they should be able to take y'all to the bingo hall. What you mean you picking her? Y'all at 70 years old, y'all supposed to have chauffeurs. I ain't doing something right if I'm 70 years old and I ain't got some whippersnapper driving me around. And at 70 years old, my wife should be older than the whippersnapper that's driving us both around, even if she's a third of my age. If I'm 70 and she's 30, the youngin that should be driving us around should be like 20. You feel me? Oh no, you're right. I got like 30 years left to get this shit right. So if my 20-year plan is working the way it's supposed to work, in 30 years, I should be set. I should be able to spend the last 15 years or 20 years of my life before I Joe Biden my way out of here and be able to do it in peace and luxury. But that also means that y'all got me for another 30 years. Unless something happened that I like Chris Benoit up out of here or Eddie Guerrero scenario or have a Hulk Hogan moment. They want to tell you about my future. Oh man, aches and pains all over the place. Been gay, icy hot, preparation age, just male pattern baldness. My father has a full head of hair at 70 years old, so there's no like bald spots anywhere. But because he doesn't want to put any effort into doing nothing to it, he shaves it all off, which is good because when it grows out, it still doesn't even really show many grays. It grows out. And he's got like black hair with like some highlights and stuff. And I'm like, wow, so that means in 30 years I'm still gonna have a full head of hair. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that notation. You know, that's gonna be one of the things that uh I look forward to getting older. Um, One of the things that you start questioning on your first dates is it even worth it? And some of you even think to yourself that maybe you should just cancel, especially when you're looking at your budget and the fact that you have to pay. It would be so much easier to stay home, safe from judgment, safe from the rejection, because as men, we have to face the rejection more often than the women have to face rejection. I should have put the statistic in here about how often do men get rejected and compared to women, but that's going to be something for tomorrow's show. Or technically next week's show. But statistically, men get rejected more often than women. I want to say 5 to 10 times more often than women, if not more than that, on average. But what if I told you that the entire pre date drama is not only common, but completely conquerable? You said, why pay, cook her a meal? Ooh, that's what's up. And then for date number two, she can cook me a meal. And then date number three, we can have a cooking competition and see which one of us cooks best. And that's great. It is kind of hard though to have like, let me bring you to my house and make you dinner kind of first date, because most women are going to assume that you're going to want to get laid off of that. And it is kind of hard for a woman to say, let me cook you dinner for a first date, because most men are going to hope that they're going to get laid on the first date because you're already at her place. So there's a higher level of trust that is required in order for you to bring a stranger that you don't even know their name to your house to feed them. Um, but yes, it is by far cheaper than taking them out. You save money. He said in the bedrooms right there. So you're full of that Luke Cage. So you're saying, all right, I'm gonna invite her over for coffee. Trojan man. Either it clicks or not. Oh yeah, we all want it. Well, but here's the thing though. Even though we all want it, the understanding is that we don't necessarily need it. And once you realize that, your efforts goes towards something else, because you're going to eventually get it if you're not too desperate to cause yourself to miss it. And that's one of the key things that not too many people are paying attention to. So as young bucks, like you told the story quite a few times on the show this past week, yeah, we got two cows on the top of the hill. There's the one wants to run down and try to get as many of them as they can, and the other one says, "Let's walk down and get whatever's left." The fact is that as you get older, it stops being a priority to get laid, and then you end up taking your time going down there and getting whatever's left, because whatever's left is still valuable. You know, the one that very few actually ruined is the one that's less damaged, which means that you have a better opportunity for success. Think about that. The value of a crashed Porsche is less than the value of a new Celica or Corolla. Think about the cheapest car on the market right now, like a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Civic, and then think about one of a very expensive models like a Porsche or a Bugatti. Totaled, it's still cheaper than an economy. So a Nissan Maxima has more value than a crash Bentley. So, with that knowledge in mind, the vehicle, the person that is least used up by society is still more valuable than the most attractive person that has been extremely ruined by society, hands down. He said, "I'm walking down and getting them all." You got one, I got a hurt. Well, if you're very charismatic, I find myself to be accidentally charismatic because I hate people. I'm not a people person, but I'm very sociable, which is a double standard. Because since I'm very sociable, if you can get me in a sociable position, I end up socializing with people. It just happens. Not that I want to, it's just that I do. It comes with the territory. Now, I understand that being sociable, respectful, cordial, whatever, I can establish a flock of females without a problem. Have an entire network of female friends, right? You're not going to get a flock of female girlfriends though. But if you have a flock of female friends that are discreet, you might be able to have a rotation of frequent sleepovers, which is a whole lot better than projecting the Gary behavior where you've gone out and captured this extra person and everybody knows about it. See what I'm saying? That's the difference. So yeah, you might get one claim one, but us old folks, we gonna have the whole herd, and we might get recommendations. Far better experience, because if they're coming on referral, That's a hot lead. I don't have to try for that. A cold lead is that she wasn't even expecting you to talk to her. A hot lead is that she came knowing what she was getting herself into, like Charlie Sheen. So, what if true, unshakable confidence isn't about faking it? Because we've had this expression on the table of fake it till you make it. And it can work, but you're putting on a front until you're capable of performing the action. It's not the same personality trait that you're either born with or you've learned how to master. It's different, far different. It's a skill and it's a practice where it's something you can intentionally build, just like a muscle at the gym. So on tonight's show, we're going to do exactly that. We're not here for vague advice. We are going to break down the psychological reframes and the practical, actionable steps that will transform the gut wrenching predate anxiety to genuine, grounded self assurance. So, this isn't about becoming someone else, it's about learning how to let the best versions of yourself show up and linger there. So, we're here to help hundreds of people navigate the wild world of modern dating. And I've seen firsthand how a lack of confidence can sabotage promising connections before see, I told you it's doing it again where it's running off with the whole platform. I'm like, bruh, I'm in the middle of a sentence and this just sitting over here turning off the. I'm gonna end up having to download some extra stuff. It's been this weird thing that's been happening lately, and I don't know. It's good. I'm gonna break down and end up buying some of that because my computer has not had its membership in a while in like 3 years now. I've been lucky to not have to deal with it, and it looks like instead of spending $500 to $1,000 to buy another computer, that I might have to invest that $24 a month for the membership thing so that I can not have to deal with the rigmarole of this thing continuously kicking me out. So probably later this week because I have to. We just moved a bunch of money around, and then after I moved a bunch of money around, then I'm like, oh shit. I need to make sure that I still got enough capital sitting there to cover all the extra stuff. So don't worry, we still got it. We still got it under control. I don't know what happened there. All right, there it is. Double checking that. So you guys are still good over there on Twitter. All right, don't worry, I'm still here with y'all. And then I put the link back into the comment section just in case y'all missed it. Now, next, the more important thing that we've seen is how powerful it is when someone learns to control their own inner state. So it changes everything, right? The truth is, the most attractive quality that you can have is being comfortable in your own skin. And that is what we're going to cultivate today. Okay. So we're going to break this down into five powerful steps. And we'll start with the foundation, two crucial mindset shifts that will fundamentally change how you view dating itself. Then we'll move into the practice with three tangible exercises and strategies that you can use in the hours and minutes right before your date to lock in the most newfound confidence. And keep in mind, fellas, This isn't about throwing back a few beers before you get out there. While I would strongly recommend not drinking and then driving, if you're going to have a glass of alcohol to calm your nerves, I would get a shot at the location so that you're not driving there afterwards of a clear liquor that has no scent, something strong, mid to top shelf, where 1 to 2 ounces, maybe even a double shot of 4 ounces, and you just throw that to the back, pop a peppermint in your mouth, you're good to go. But you shouldn't need that because by the end of tonight's show, you'll have a complete toolkit to walk into any date feeling calm, curious, and authentic, being your normal self. So, before we get started, I want to get a special shout out to Mad Dog 2020 because if you get you a nice bottle of some Mad Dog 2020 and order you some orange juice at the bar, you can top your glass of orange juice off with that MD double two, and you are good to go because by the time you finish 3 of them, ain't nothing bothering you about nothing. you know, the it's strange because it's alcohol is a blocker, like caffeine, and the nerves, the signals that are sent from the brain are not readily sent once you consume a decent quantity of something heavy. And it's something heavy. It's not like a wine cooler, like a Smirnoff Ice or something like that. It's something that's heavy, like Scotch, Jack Daniels, Jim Beam, Johnny Walker, Mad Dog 2020, OE, something like wow. If you get some of that what is that? Elroy or whatever, the Japanese liquor, not the Japanese, the Jamaican liquor. That's that. Woo. Matter of fact, I told you guys like I think a month ago on the show about how we had a drink called the Fireball. It was a cup of coffee. Well, it was called Jet Fuel. It was a cup of coffee with 2 ounces of Fireball in it. It gave you the minty cinnamon flavor of coffee that would knock you. You wouldn't have to worry about it. You would be good. You'd be wired, and they couldn't smell alcohol on your breath. Everclear alcohol is another one. Everclear, no ice. Just this much, literally this much in the cup. No ice. Chug that. Rest of your night is fine. You really don't have to buy any more alcohol after that. If you do some Everclear, you'd be like, oh, throat's on fire and everything like that, gut burn. yeah, I gotta understand this stuff is wild. Doug fart. yeah. All right, now let's get it together for the first. Um, this is going to be the most arguably important mindset shift. We're going to call this one connection versus audition reframe. The connection versus audition reframe. And this is huge. And the reason why this is huge, fellas, is because a lot of the times we as men are peacocking. Women do it too, but women do it differently because the way women do it is they put on an overly sexualized outfit, put on a bunch of makeup, put on heels, get their hair done, and then stand there and pose and vogue and vogue and vogue and just wait for a guy to come over. As guys, we have to fluff our feathers. We've got to do the dance around the girl to get the girl to talk to us. We've got to get our money out. We've got to make it rain. That's not what we're trying to do. You want a connection, not an audition. You're not putting on a song and dance for it. So think about how you feel before a job interview. When you're being evaluated, judged, you have to perform, hit all the right notes, and prove your worth. It feels like there's a panel of judges on one side of the table and you're on the other, desperately trying to get their approval. This is an audition mindset, and it's how most of us subconsciously approach dating. We walk in with a script in our heads that sounds like, I hope they like me. I hope I'm funny enough. I hope I'm attractive enough. I hope they pick me. This mindset immediately puts us in a powerless position. We have to hand over all our agencies to the other person, waiting for their verdict. It's no wonder dating feels so terrifying. We're turning every coffee date into a high stakes performance review where the pressure is immense and it kills any chance for a real spark. Exactly, selling yourself. But here's the question: why the fuck am I selling myself? Ain't I paying for this shit? Why am I selling myself? I hope I brought. Actually, she's supposed to be wanting children, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. So here's the thing. In the resume, not in the resume, in the job description, mother of kids is in there as an expectation. So that is not a stipulation of the date. That's not stipulation of the date. If it goes down, it goes down, but she's expecting to be a mom after the fact. And if that's not what she's looking for, then why is she even here? Because that's where this is going to develop. I told you guys before, on your first 2 to 3 days, you're supposed to put a lot of your prioritized expectations on the table. There are things about you that are flexible. You will allow certain things, you won't allow certain things, but there are certain things that must happen. And certain things like whether or not you're going to be parents, that's got to be a out the gate expectation. If you're quote unquote not sure and you're 35, you don't want fucking kids. You understand? Because if you don't change your mind in 3 years, you're starting to talk about having complicated pregnancies 2 years after that. If you're 35 talking about something you're not sure, and at 38 you're thinking about, oh, maybe we'll adopt. But the guy isn't trying to adopt squat. Yes, that's fine. That there's nothing wrong with adoption. But guys want their own gene pool. So they're willing to do a surrogate where his DNA is still in the kid. But adoption happens as a last resort when a man is not capable of reproducing with the chick that he has and he can't get rid of the chick that he has. So if you're starting the relationship at 34, 35, 37, knowing that by 40, you're not even going to give this man one kid, but he wants kids, why are you even here? Thinking of being a parent on the first date? Nope. He said sex only. Okay. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you're talking about short-term engagements, you're entertaining the other person. As a man, you're entertaining the other person, and after you've entertained the other person enough, you'll get laid. As a female, you're going to be entertained by the person enough to allow them to get laid. This is short term. This is short term interactions. The long game is what we're supposed to be focusing on. Because just like fixing and flipping real estate, if you're only dating this girl long enough to get laid and then you're going to move on and start over, you have to go through the 1 date to 6 months of dating of depending on the longevity of this female before you get laid. And you're always doing this for the first 1 to 5 times that y'all get laid, and then sometime after the 10th time y'all parted ways, and now you're starting all over again. You're rotating out women the way you're rotating out real estate, where you're buying and selling on a regular basis. You never lock in consistency. So you're going into this with a consistent mindset. Because again, if you're focused on the sex, the problem is that she can tell, which leads a perception that you are desperate, which turns her off, which is counterproductive to your ability to achieve. Now, if you're looking for a long-term companionship, that long-term companionship is going to have sex in there somewhere. So it doesn't matter what she's doing. What matters is that if she's going to hang around long enough, eventually I'm going to get some. Again, the difference between the one running down the hill and the one walking down the hill. He said, but I paid for dinner, right? Doesn't really matter. If that's the case, contingent to you paying for dinner means that you're going on a dinner with the understanding that if you're going to pay for her half of the dinner, that she's going to have to give you some. But if she's not planning on allowing you to get any, she need to bring her own wallet to pay for herself, which sets a standard. But again, that projects the ability to demand that this engagement is going to lead to you getting laid, and that's not what it's supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about you guys formulating a connection off of the first date. So we're going to flip this entirely. What if a date wasn't an audition? What if it was simply an exploration? This is the connection mindset that I'm trying to get you guys to understand. Instead of asking, do they like me? You start asking, do I like them? Because that's really what's important. Instead of, am I good enough for them? You ask, are they a good fit for me and my life the way it is right now and the way I plan on changing it? Because you want to make sure that they fit into your expectations. And here's the most important, powerful question to hold in your mind. I wonder if we'll connect. Notice the shift in energy. I wonder is a phrase of pure curiosity. It opens the light and provides free expectations. So it's not a pass or fail test, it's a data gathering mission, which is completely different. Like, Michael, if you're out there trying to get laid off the date, if you don't get laid, you failed. Yeah, he who don't succeed tries again. But that also means that you're trying a second, third, and fifth time to get laid. And that's not the effective approach. Michael says, I just say, do you want to go Dutch? And it takes the pressure off the first date. Keep it simple and don't pry into their past. Oh, you don't want to know about their, well, you do want to know about their past if you're looking for a long-term relationship, but you don't want to know about their past on the first date. On the first date, you want to know who they currently are, not where they've been in life. By the third date, you want to know some, not all, some intricate details about the past. Like, how long has it been since you were in a serious relationship, and how did that relationship end? Specifically, because depending on that response determines what kind of person you've got now. If she's blaming that relationship on the other person, where she's taking no responsibility for the failure, then she did not change. Doesn't matter if she's telling the truth or not. What matters is that if it was all somebody else's fault, there was no reason for me to change. Which means that if she's blaming the other person for the relationship falling apart, she has not improved herself from that relationship. That's the first part. Then the second part, the length of time between that last relationship and now determines how much potential baggage could still be negatively impacting her decision making process, which you would then have to navigate through in your current relationship. And there isn't a fixed number as to how many months or how many years from the last relationship that is safe to get into a new relationship without trauma. But typically, you should detach yourself 2 times longer than the engagement itself in order to be fully absolved of that engagement. But I would have to get some detailed statistics as to the true factor of how long you should part from the past relationship before you get into the next one. So yeah, it's a thing. And if you jump into it any sooner, yeah, you can still have a good relationship, but there's a likelihood that it might not end well for you. Either remember to like and subscribe. Definitely, definitely. So note, yeah, we're gonna get into the scoop and the skinny. We're gonna get into the scoop and the skinny. Now, uh, You're not going to be a performer trying it the way that I'm telling you guys to do it, where you're trying to win a prize. You are actually an explorer stepping into a lab to see if there's a chemical reaction here, where sometimes there is and sometimes there isn't. Neither outcome is a failure, it's just information. So, this reframe is so powerful for a couple of reasons. The first reason is that it puts you back in the driver's seat. You become an active participant and an equal co creator of the experience. That sense of agency is a core part of confidence. Second, it shifts your focus externally. So when you're trapped in the audition mindset, you constantly monitoring yourself. How am I sitting? Was that a weird thing to say? It's a bit crippling. Only time I adjust my posture is when my back hurts. That's it. I I should be sitting with good posture so that my back don't hurt. I'm getting old, bro. I'm getting old. But when your goal is connection and your tool is curiosity, then your focus naturally shifts to the other person. So you start actually listening. You start actually seeing them. You move from self consciousness to genuine interest. And that is going to be a lot more impactful than being concerned about how much they care about you and the sense of judging you. Because in a long term relationship, you want them to care about you, but you don't want them to you know be judging you like this bear thing. Michael says it's a bear trap you're putting your foot into, or milk and honey. Ah, it's always a bear trap. There's never milk and honey involved. There's never milk and honey involved. Uh, the fact is that as guys, we're putting ourselves in a volatile position where we clearly understand that there is a long sign of potential rejection that can occur from this at any point in time, and that is a heightened fear for men because men get rejected on a regular basis. A lot of times they will go on the date, enjoy the date itself, not enjoying you. They are enjoying what you paid for, and then after the date is over, they may not even be interested in going on a second date. That's not what this is supposed to be about. Because again, if the goal is to take her out on a successful date ideally has a follow up. So if she's not interested in a second date, then you failed. But if you're just trying to get to know who she is to see if she's the kind of person that fits your expectations, then you're likely to succeed with getting information about the person, regardless of whether or not there's a follow up. Michael says, what do you think guys are looking for on the first date? Well, they're looking for the same thing on the first date that they look for on the third date: sex, sex, and more sex. That's what they're looking for. That's exactly what they're looking for. But that's the reason why men are struggling in the dating field because they're trying so hard to get laid instead of putting more effort into getting to know the other person. So, how do you practice uh, changing the method? Well, it's going to start with your inner monologue. You want to catch yourself when those audition thoughts pop up. So, when your brain says, I hope they think I'm interesting, you want to pause and consciously replace it with, I'm curious to find out what they're passionate about, right? He said, just ask. I mean, you could just ask. If you just ask for the sex, they're probably gonna say yes. If they thought you were physically attractive in the beginning and you just ask politely, which I'm not sure how politely can you ask if you want to do it. Like I don't know, something like that. But that's probably more appropriate than kind of nudging your way in there and kind of hoping that she or repetitively setting the stage for it to happen And you got to remember, hands down, you got to get that consent, guys, because it is dangerous out here for men. It is totally dangerous out here for men because he said not that way. You want to do it? It's totally dangerous. It's more dangerous for men than it is for women in a different way. Because while a man doesn't have to worry about being snatched up into the back of a van with no windows on it, the fact is that after the interaction between the woman and the man occurs, there's always an opportunity that the man could get arrested for that interaction, even if he would have gotten consent in the moment. If she claims that it wasn't consent after the fact, you're in a shit ton of trouble because it's your word against hers. You also have the situations that you have to deal with, like in the state of Louisiana. If you catch that charge, even if it was an accident, they cut your balls off. So you don't want to put yourself in a situation where it is not widely understood that this is supposed to happen. So I, the safest thing for you to do is to have her sign a waiver while she's sober, consenting to this situation, and videotape her signing the waiver and giving verbal consent at the same time. Because if you do that, whatever happens after that, it's in the contract. She agreed to it. She signed off on this, Your Honor. And that's only going to go so far, but that's going to get you a hell of a lot further than it's your word against hers. Because while she was sober, she signed that paper. Before she took the first drink, she signed that paper, and then she verbally consented on the video camera. That's the safest way for you to go these days. And you're going to have to check her ID, run her across a criminal background check to make sure that the ID is legit. Because if even if she does consent and you find out that 26 was actually 16, you're still going to be right next to R. Kelly and Puff Daddy. So you want to be careful with what you're doing. Just to be real, is that I just asked, I find you attractive and interesting. I would love to please you. And then I smile. It has worked for me because you're 70 years old, bro. Women will have daddy issues, and the first thing they're going to do is gravitate to the older guy. The older you are, the easier it is. You don't really have to, you know. Can I hit that? Think about it, guys. But when your brain says, "What if I'm not their type?" You want to replace that with, "I'm going to see what kind of energy they have and how it feels to be around them." You understand? He said, "I wasn't 70 all my life." No, you wasn't 70 all your life. Back in the 70s, everybody was popping mollies and taking ecstasy, so there wasn't really much conversation going on back in them days. Because for you to be 70 right now, you would have been born in 54, 1954. So in 1976, you was a grown ass man doing disco fever. I know what it's about. I know what it's about. So yeah, you would have been. It didn't groovy, baby. You was able to Austin Powers. You want to shag, baby? Yeah. You grooving. If you could do some stuff on some inline skates, that's all it took, bro. Back in them days, it was less difficult. Back in them days, it wasn't so transactional. So back in them days, all you had to do was just say something respectful, make her giggle, and that was it. That's all you had to do back in them days. All you had to do was say something clever and make her think. That was it. Man, after Beyonce said, "Can you pay my bills? Bills, bills, bills." These females started thinking while they're on the date, "Ooh, my phone bill need to be paid. Let me see if I can get this out of him. Ooh, my car need gas money. Ooh, my car need insurance money." You know what I'm saying? "Ooh, I need a new car. Let's see if he'll buy it for me." And that changed the whole scenario. Special shout out to Mr. Satellite. He says, "Xander, life defeated me again. What happened? You lost your phone the second time?" I see. It looks like you got your old platform back. Special shout out to Mr. Satellite. I got something for Mr. Satellite. It's been a while since he's been here. Uh, he's one of the bros. This guy has been hanging out with me for the
I'm not
longest
just
period of time.
living, I'm manifesting my
Yes,
vision.
we got some guys
Cutting
that got
through
intro music coming up
limitations
here.
with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
So special shout out to Mr. Satellite. Now, man, so this is what you're gonna have to do, bro. You're gonna have to get you a backup email for your primary email, and then you're going to have to get you an insurance policy on your phones so that when you lose them phones, it's cheaper than replacing them. Also, if you do a GPS tracker on your phone that is linked to your laptop, you can then find your lost phone as long as your phone still has power in it. So, recovery is a little bit more effective. But man, you've replaced your phone twice in less than 3 months. That's a bad month, man. Because these phones ain't cheap. So next thing up to bat, when your brain says, I really need this to go well, you want to replace that with my only goal is to have a pleasant conversation and see what this person is about. That's it. By reframing the date's purpose from evaluation to connection, you're changing the rules to the game that you can't lose. Because if you connect, you win. If you don't, you successfully gathered the information you needed and can move on, which is also a win because you would have gathered enough information to understand why you did not uh, accomplish connecting with the other person. Sometimes it's the person that you chose, sometimes it's something that you said or did, or sometimes you guys just don't mesh up. So, 2 out of 3 times is not your fault. Now, this leads us perfectly into our second mindset shift, adapting the authenticity filter. And this builds on the connection. We're going to take this one step further. For so many of us, the fear of dating not working is really a fear of rejection. That fear makes us put on a mask. So we're trying to be smoother, wittier, more agreeable. And this is a different version of ourselves. We hide our quirks, we downplay our niche interests, and suppress our opinions that might be controversial. We become a carefully curated, inoffensive version of a person, hoping this version would be accepted. Yeah, that fear of rejection is a son of a bitch. You start doing too much sometimes. You put yourself in a scenario where you overly exert effort to have the persona that you're trying to create be accepted by the person that you're talking to. And that doesn't necessarily work for you. There's times where being yourself is less expensive and less exhausting. The problem becomes twofold because, like I said, first it's exhausting. Maintaining a facade burns an incredible amount of mental energy. You got to remember what you're doing and why you're doing it. And it's why people feel drained after dates. They've been performing for 2 hours, and typically that's around about what dates are like. You go on a 2 hour movie, you go on an hour 45-minute dinner date, you go on a 4 hour date where it's a 2 hour dinner and then a 2 hour movie. Now you're looking at almost 5 hours if you include the commute between the dinner and the movie if y'all are riding together. You're looking at almost 6 hours if you picked her up and now you got to drop her off, and the whole time y'all been together. That's a lot of performance that you have to do, knowing that every time she turns her back, you're falling out of character, and then you have to snap yourself back in line when she starts paying attention to you again. He said, "Let me count the ways you will be rejected." Upon approach, without the flowers, with the flowers if they're the wrong kind of flower, uh, with the flowers if you don't bring an umbrella. Yeah, I can keep count. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of ways. Upon first encounter, before you even get to the actual date, there's a lot of ways that this week goes out. Now, the bigger picture here is though, if they like the mask, that's going to be the bigger problem. They haven't actually connected with you. You've just signed yourself up for a second date where you have to put on the same performance. That is the worst part about putting on a show. You're building a potential relationship on a false foundation, and that is doomed to crumble. So, the authenticity filter is the idea that your true, unfiltered self is the greatest date tool. And this isn't just a feeling, platitude, it's a highly effective strategy where your goal in dating isn't a the ability to get everyone to like you. Your goal is to find the people who are genuinely compatible with the real you. Where in fact studies show that authenticity is linked to positive relationships, qualities, things like higher rates of commitment and satisfaction. So, your authenticity, your unique sense of humor, your passion for obscure sci fi, your slightly loud laugh is not a liability, it's a filter, right? Michael says, until you become comfortable with each other, that's the goal. But in order to do so, you bare your souls, and that is scary. Well, you're not supposed to put on a front until you become comfortable with each other. And typically, that's what people are doing is that they're putting on this front until they get comfortable with each other, which takes about 3 months. That's the honeymoon phase. Then people change because the real you come out because now you're comfortable with each other. Now you're bearing your souls with one another because you're no longer putting on the facade because you're comfortable with the person that you have. Now you are emotionally and men are financially invested in the relationship, and now you have a problem because the girl that you're dating has to decide that who you're turning out to be now is it what she wants. Now she can leave free and clear easily at the drop of a hat. You, my friend, you as a man in a relationship, you're taking an L somewhere. Either you're going to continue to invest more into this relationship and take an L, or you're taking an L if you back out of the relationship because you don't like what you've settled into after 3 months of pretending like you're something else. Is that in order to get there, you have to learn rejection. Oh man, you have to go through the school of rejection, just like crashing cars at the driving school. And then once you're done, after you finish police academy in your life, then you got to go in there and try again. See, now that's smart. Let her take me out to dinner. You know, very few women will take a man out to dinner, pick him up, pay, drop him off, and respect him after the fact. Very few, very few. It's not that there aren't women out there that'll do it. It's just there's very few. But when you show up as your genuine self, one of two things will happen. The other person will resonate with it or they won't. Both of these outcomes are massive successes for you because if they like the real you, fantastic. You found a potential connection. But if they don't like the real you, that's an even bigger win because you have successfully and efficiently filtered out someone who isn't compatible with you, saving yourself weeks, months, or even years of trouble. Rejection in this new frame isn't painful, it's just data. Research confirms that being yourself is an effective strategy for finding a long term match. And that person didn't reject you, they just weren't a match for you. and you now know. That's different. So here's when you're dealing with rejection, you are interested in the other person, and the other person is no longer interested in you. If you recognize that the other person is not a good fit for you, and you back away from the situation, you as a man did not get rejected, which is a whole different mindset. Michael says, what most of the women that I know take me out on a dinner. Oh, and I must be comfortable and funny to be with. Well, yeah, if most of the women that you know are taking you out to dinner, you've got to be a barrel of laughs because where we come, you got to remember though, I'm like 30 years younger than you. These females ain't really doing too much paying up at 30, 40 years old. They're not all that interested in proactively financially investing in the startup of the relationship. They want to be in that relationship because at 30, 40 years old, they retired out of the whole game and now they're trying to settle down. Settling down means that you have lost all your morals up until this year and now you're starting to become morally conscious. Your ethics were gone up until like a few months ago and now you thought about, maybe you should behave more. So your body count, your bad choices, your C-section, and all your child support, I'm supposed to ignore all of that and put you on a pedestal. Issues. Yeah. So these females, they're not really coming out there looking for the score. Doesn't mean it's not there though. But this moves rejection from a judgment on your worth to a simple clarification of compatibility, which is a huge improvement. People are craving a real human being. And in studies, after studies, we've come to determine that when people are asking to prioritize traits in a partner, qualities like kindness and intelligence consistently rank at the top for above far above superficial traits. So no matter how attractive you're not, if you're kind and you're smart and you're consistent, then that will put a four in the position of an eight. Think about that, ladies. Now, your imperfections and quirks are the very things that make you interesting and allow someone else to feel comfortable enough to be real too. So, how do you put this into practice? We're going to get into that in just a second. He said, "Where are these women from the bars, etc.?" Well, that depends on where you go, bro. Because there are women at the library, there are women at the Starbucks, there are women at the WalMarts, there are women at the Home Depot, there are women at the colleges, there's women at the on the job at the restaurants, the waitress, the traffic cop that pulled you over. There are women at the bars and the dance halls and the nightclubs and other such places. But I mean, the, there typically isn't a wrong place to go to find women. Like they say, except they say don't go find them in the church because that's the retired. That's the retired bad girls. That's the ones that were throwing it up against the wall and dancing on the pole, and something bad happened to their life, and then they turn themselves over to God on Sunday, but they dance at the strip club on Friday and Saturday. I don't, in that order. They turn themselves over to the Lord on Sunday, and now it's Friday, and they back out there stripping pole and everything like that. So I don't know. Typically, again, age wise, somewhere between 30 and 40, women start behaving more, start doing less. And when that happens, that's when you're in a position where the women are making more sound decisions. But between 18 and 30, they're not making sound decisions. And because they're not making sound decisions, as I described them, that's how they turn out to be more often than not. Now, there are some 30-year-old virgins, there are some 28-year-old one relationship kind of women, there are some 22-year-olds that have not been traumatized yet, but they're far and few in between. He said, as long as there is a stripper pole in the house, every house should have a fireplace and a stripper pole. And they don't have to be on the same floor. The fireplace could be on the first floor, the stripper pole could be in the basement. Doesn't matter. Every house should have a fireplace and a stripper pole. Or a fireman's pole that they can just mistaken for a stripper pole. Either way. Now, if you're nervous, you can just say, wow, first dates always make me a little nervous, but I'm excited to be here. This act of vulnerability is incredibly disarming. Second, don't hide your passions. If you love board games, talk about them. Don't pretend that you're into hiking if you hate it. Your genuine enthusiasm is contagious and far more attractive than faking it. So I'm not one to take long walks. I have walked when I didn't have a car. I could tell you, I could put in, 10 miles in 5 hours walking a steady pace in the middle of the day, work a 10-hour shift and walk back. I can do it. Or at least I used to be able to do it when I was younger. But these days, I don't walk from the house to the car in the driveway. I don't walk to the mailbox. I drive to the mailbox from the front door. Do you know the distance to walk from the house to the car and then drive to the mailbox, check the mail, and then drive back and then get out of the car? That's what we're doing right now. There is no, like, for me to walk past the car and go to the mailbox, that's too far. For me to walk past the car to put the trash out, that's too much. That's too far. You know what I'm saying? Now, keep in mind, I actually have the mail at a post office box on the other side of town, sometimes in different states. So when I call myself going to the actual mailbox and get mail, that's like a 30-mile drive. But for those of us who have a mailbox right outside of our house that mail comes to go from the front porch to the edge of the driveway, that's too far to walk for me. So you being a hiker, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I love hiking. Fuck that. I don't even like taking my dog for a walk. I'll open the back door and let him go outside. I sit on the step and watch him walk himself. Like, no, I'm not trying to hike. Only way you're gonna see me hiking is if the car broke down. We'll hitchhike back to civilization. That's the only time you're gonna see me hiking. Talk about some hiking for fun. I hike for emergencies only. But look at the enthusiasm that I have when I start describing exactly how much I am not a fan of hiking. You'll see me hiking on a Wii Fit before you see me hiking in real life. Uh, the third, that you have to have an opinion. That's going to be the third step. If they ask what you think of a movie and you don't like it, it's okay to respectfully say that you don't like it and then explain why. Being agreeable to a fault is boring. If they say I like something, you're like, oh yeah, I like that too. And then every time they say that they like something, you like that too. That's because you're forcing compatibility. People with their own perspectives are engaging. So I might like scrambled eggs with honey on it. You might be like, what the fuck? Like, that's weird. But you might try that shit and be like, oh, that's different. It all depends. He says, usually my first dates were hikes or camping. Well, back in your day, y'all had to walk 20 miles uphill in the snow. So everything was a hike back in the 70s. And camping is what you did when you your breath. Rest a little bit before you finish trying to get to your destination. Scooby Doo in the gang wasn't just about a bunch of potheads driving around in a van. That's how y'all got around. That's how y'all got around. You're like, oh hey, let's go over here by such and such place. And you already know damn for sure that whatever you just recommended to go to as an interesting place to go was like 60 something miles away, 8-day drive. Y'all like, oh yeah, we're gonna make it there eventually. Six of y'all pack up into a vehicle so that if casualties occur, at least two of y'all will come back alive. And y'all get out there and y'all make it do what to do. Whoever makes it there and has a good time and comes back and tell all the other stragglers that got lost along the way exactly what we did and where we was and how much fun we had. That is completely different from modern times. Modern time, there is very few women that are going to go hiking with a man on the first date because like I discussed earlier in the show, that the women feel safer with a bear that will kill them than a man that'll protect them. So there's no way that she's going to be caught in the woods with you by herself if she didn't bring her own bear. So you're not taking her camping on a first date. Who's got the bottle and weed? Somebody brought the bottle, somebody brought the weed, and somebody brought the X. Y'all had LSD back in the day before they had ecstasy. Y'all, somebody had the lower tab 12s. Y'all was out there doing it bad. I know what y'all was out there with. Woodstock, Burning Man. I know what y'all had going on back then. Life was way easier back then. Way easier back then. Back in them days, I had to ask for white only pie. I couldn't just get me some apple pie. Mushrooms, opium. I watched Beavis and Butthead do America. I know what it's about. Way back in the day. Now, the fear, of course, that we have with these first dates is the thought of, but what if the real me isn't good enough? And you're not for everyone. You have to understand this. You are not for everyone. I'm a very charismatic person in my own observation, but that doesn't mean that everybody likes the way I get down. And that's a beautiful thing. You are for the people who will celebrate the real you. So the authenticity filter is just your most effective and efficient tool for finding them individuals out and letting them see the real you isn't the risk. The risk is letting them fall for someone you're not. That's the real risk. He said, Burning Man, so cool. Greatest party on earth. Oh, of course, sex, drugs, and alcohol. And a guy on fire. Ah, yeah, I went to the meetings too. It taught me how to tie a rope. Um, we've laid the mental groundwork. Now, let's get practical with an unorthodox ritual that instantly kills anxiety, fellas. So forget the generic advice. This is a simple step by step routine designed to ground you in your own value and replace your inner critic with an inner coach. This ritual has three steps. First, the value inventory. About an hour before your date, and some of you might have to start 2 hours before your date, take out a piece of paper or open up a note on your phone. Write down three things you're genuinely bring to the table in a relationship, platonic or romantic. Start with platonic and then lead into romantic. Research shows that this simple act of journaling can boost self esteem and help you acknowledge your achievements. Don't censor yourself. Maybe it's I'm a deep, loyal friend, or I have a weirdly good memory for song lyrics, or I'm great at listening without judgment. It could be I'm good in bed. It doesn't matter what it is. The act of writing these down reminds you that you are already a whole person with inherent value, completely independent of this date's outcome. So you're not going there to prove your worth, you're going there to share it. Second, your inner coach monologue. Your inner critic loves the pre date window. It's loud, convincing, and cruel. So your job is to fire it and hire that inner coach. So you want to find a private space in your bathroom mirror, which is a perfect place for this, and speak to yourself out loud. This is a form of self affirmation. And studies using neuroimaging have found that this practice activates reward centers in the brain, enhancing feelings of self worth. So say, all right, state your name. You are a kind, funny, and valuable person. Your only job tonight is to be you and to see if this other person's energy feels good to you. This is not a test, it's just an experience. You are enough right now. You're good at this. You got it. Hearing these words in your own voice is incredibly powerful, and you're actively rewiring the narrative from fear to self support. Michael says, make a list and give her the list. Nah, that's not what you do, bro. You make a list and then you give her a piece of paper, a pencil, and have her make a counter list. I want to see what you bring to the table. This is what I bring to the table. What you bring. I check and I raise you. I check you, good listener, and I raise you, active communicator. We're gonna turn this into a poker game. We're gonna turn this into a poker game. Now, the third thing is, and this is most unorthodox step, worst case scenario reversals. Before we get into that, he says, if she starts checking this off, it's control. She's like, yep, he does. Now, instead of avoiding the what ifs, you're going to walk right up to the scariest ones and stare it down. Ask yourself, what is the absolute worst, most realistic thing that could happen on this date? The worst realistic thing. Maybe you spill a drink. Maybe you have nothing in common. Maybe they seem bored and end the date early. One in one survey, having nothing to talk about was the real fear for 34% of people. Now, play it out. And then what? You'll feel embarrassed for a minute. You'll go home. You'll maybe text a friend about it. And then you'll wake up the next day and your life will be exactly the same. So, by confronting the worst case and realizing you can survive it easily, you strip it of all its power. So, this routine, the value, inventory, the inner coach, and the reversal grounds you, center you, and ensures you walk into your date feeling not just calm, but truly confident in who you are. Now the ritual is complete. You're feeling good and your energy is high. You get to the date and then a new fear hits, a top anxiety for many singles. What if there's an awkward silence? Oh, hold on. He's got one. How old am I back then? Well, back in the Woodstock era, the 70s or the 25, something like that. How old was I back in? I was still a gleam in my father's eye back during Woodstock. Um, now, the fear forces you into one of two traps. We either over prepare a list of interview style questions. Do you have siblings? Making it feel like in interrogation, asking her what was her last relationship like. That's not what you're doing on date one, or we panic and try to fill every silence with chatter. The solution is not memorizing questions, but to adopt a different plan. This is curiosity. The curiosity conversation plan is where the goal here isn't to have a script, it's to have a strategy that places the focus on genuine discovery. He says, what age group are we referring to? 20s to 30s? Uh, right now, we're talking about everybody from about 20 to about maybe 50 or 60 that's still trying to date. I mean, you should be able to have that concern at 70, but Men are more valuable the older they get. So 60, 70, 80-year-old men are more valuable. They don't have to try. They just exist, right? Those women that are 30, 40, 50 years old, they don't need they're looking for stability. So if the man has the financial stability, he has less years left that she has to put up with. So all she has to do is just deal with the time you have left and enjoy your wealth that you've already built 3/4 of your life trying to get there. So at 70, 80 years old, there isn't much that you have to do besides get out and socialize. As a younger individual, though, there's a lot more that I have to put on the steak. This kebab needs to be more meaty. So here's the entire plan before you date. Come up with just three open ended questions that you are genuinely curious to get the answer for. These are things that you want to know about her. Let's break that down. Three, just three. Doesn't matter how long it takes you to get these questions out. And you want to pace yourself and take your time with asking these questions. This is manageable. It's three tools that you pack in your back pocket. Open ended question number one. This is key. An open ended question can't be an answer with yes or no, it requires a story. It's the difference between do you like to travel and what's one of the most memorable trips you've ever taken. Genuine curiosity is one of the things that you need to have. Don't pick questions from a random list online. Pick things you actually want to know about another person. If you met this person online, you read their profile, y'all been talking a little bit before y'all started going on the date, there's something about this person that you want to know. When your curiosity is real, it creates engaging conversation. So Michael says, at 20, I got butterflies, but didn't let it worry me too much. If it doesn't work, I move on. At 20, I I didn't get butterflies at 20. I think I started getting butterflies at 30 and 40. I started being more subconscious at 30 and 40. At 20, uh, I they were everywhere at 20. I was working a lot, and when I wasn't working, it just happened. I think the butterflies that I got in my stomach is where it happened. Like I would pick up chicks on the job, I would pick up chicks at school, I would pick up chicks at places I'm not supposed to be, and that is probably where the butterflies came in at. But as far as like me interacting with another person, I was always so charismatic to the point where it was part of my job. I had to socialize with people as part of my job. So socializing with someone, once I'm mentally on the clock, I was like I said, I was a social butterfly. So getting a woman to talk to me, getting a woman to come back to see me, getting a woman to frequently come and bother me while I was at work, yeah, I could make that happen because it was part of the job because that's how I got paid. He said, you can't play baseball with that accidental miss hit. You're right. But it was like it's not the same because like when you have to proactively go out and try to catch somebody's attention, it it's harder. When it's part of your job, it's like I'm supposed to be here, so I don't really care if you talk to me or not. Like I get paid whether you get service or not. So you can either tell me what you want or fuck you, I'm out. And that's just kind of how I was. So in my 20s, I was more to the magnitude of why wouldn't you talk to me? So my interactions with women were different. Now in my 30s, when life changed and started being more realistic about things. Then I started being subconscious about what ifs. And when the dynamic changed, then it was a concern. He said, when you were young, most would say it's my other head talking. Exactly. And now logic dictates that, well, I probably don't have as much to offer this one as I originally suspected. And that's where the subconsciousness comes in at. But when you're going to the table and you're asking those three significant questions, what these questions might look like would be, what's something you're really nerdy or passionate about that might surprise people? Or you can ask, what's a small thing that can instantly make your day better? And if you could have any superpower, what would it be? And what's the first thing you do with it? Now, that is a dangerous question because I have seen some folks do the superpower skit. And they're naming, like, if they could have three superpowers, they're talking about things like time stop, invisibility, and untraceable DNA. It's like, wait, what are you planning on doing with those type of superpowers? uh, because I can only think of two things, and neither one of them is the other person going to end well. But it's that's a good question because when you say, well, what are you going to do with those ideas? It's like, hold on, buddy, because that paints a picture. The painting. Do you like to paint? I used to like to paint. I actually think I could find myself with the patience to paint, but that's not my go-to thing. Um, if I had someone to paint with, like if I had a kid or something like that, then I wouldn't have a problem with painting. But like painting with one of my kids is not the same as me just painting on a date. So I don't see myself asking that, but that is a good question. If you like to paint, asking her if she likes to paint too is fantastic because that actually you're asking her. Well, but see, asking her, do you like to paint? That's a yes or no question. If she says that she's into the arts, then you would ask her what type of art does she like to do, and then you would ask her, like, if she mentioned painting, what does she like to paint, because you're asking open-ended questions. How did you get here on our date? That's a good question. That's a good question. So how, and that question might lead you with a simple answer. I got here by bus or I got here by car. I took an Uber. Oh, you drove yourself here? What kind of car do you drive? Is it fast? Do you want to race it? But here's one. Tell me about a time you laughed the hardest you've ever laughed. That's a good one. That's a good one. So you don't have to ask these questions like you're reading from a cue card. Just hold them in reserve. And if a conversation stalls, smile and say, okay, I have a random question for you on a a very casual and calm scenario, and then deploy one of these questions. Hopefully you picked her up. That's not necessarily the case. 2025. These females got cars. The responsible ones do, at least, because there's a lot of them that live with their mom and they don't have a car and they're glad that you're here because you're going to save them from the life that they live. And Captain Kirk, you've got to know what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, a lot of them are coming by Uber. They call it Uber here. And a lot of them are calling themselves being responsible by catching an Uber there, because if they show up in an Uber, then if the date goes well, you can take them home. But if the date doesn't go well, they'll catch a cab back. And then you're on Angie's list. It's better to be on Angie's list than to be on Craigslist, I think. I just I don't know because Craigslist got some naughty things on there. Angie's list is just you're missing, right? A little bit different. Like you late for returning. It's way different. And getting, yeah, exactly. And catching that beat. Now, the magic of this plan is that it shifts your role from entertainer to interviewer, right? And this is the best sense of the word interviewer because, like a podcast host that is fascinated by their guest, your job is not to be interesting, your job is to be interested. Research from Harvard shows a robust link between asking more questions and particularly follow up questions and being more liked by your conversation partner. There's this connection between those scenarios. The more you ask them about them, the more they're intrigued by you. You must become the listener. The more you talk about yourself, the more you seem egotistical, the more you seem like a bragger, boaster. You're not really trying to talk a lot about yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that you're supposed to keep yourself hidden. You're not supposed to refrain from answering questions. Structuralize those answers in a fashion where you're not insulting or embarrassing yourself, but you're not trying to refrain from answering questions, but you want to ask more than you answer. Follow-ups to get deeper involved in the other person. That shows that you're interested in them. Speed daters who ask more follow-up questions were more likely to get a second date. When you are truly listening to someone's story, you have zero mental capacity left to worry about how you're coming across. So your self consciousness dissolves and your egotistical behavior subsides. So, not bragging, very key factor. Well, you want to try not to tell lies, but you also want to not be put in a position where you have to withhold the truth. Because by not saying it, some people consider that a lie. But a lot of times, because you're subconscious about how they might take what you're saying, they might call you a liar. If you might not say what really happened, and they'll call you a liar on that, or in situations where you choose to lie because you don't want to not answer the question. In situations where you're uncomfortable with the question, you should just honestly say that you don't feel comfortable with answering that question at this time. But later in their engagements, you may revisit that particular question. They'll understand if you have a little bit of a soft spot that might be a trigger, and they will talk to you about it in another time. If your refusal to answer the question is a trigger for them, then they may stop the date there. Either way, if there's something about you that you're not ready to share and they ask about it, if they don't respect the fact that you're not ready to share that, they're not a good match for you. Because you don't want to be in a relationship with a partner where now's not the time for me to talk to you about this, and they're going to keep badgering you about it until you talk about this. Sometimes there's a time and a place for it, and now's not the time, and they need to respect that. So, um, this is also going to make the other person feel amazing because you are giving them a gift by making them feel seen and heard. And this isn't a script, it's a safety net. So it transforms a date from a verbal performance into a shared exploration. He says, don't you want don't you want to push her buttons? No, you don't want to push her buttons. No. You might want to penetrate some of her crevices, but you're not trying to push none of her buttons. Don't nobody want to ignite that. That's like trying to find a nuclear warhead button. Like you're pushing the wrong button, she's gonna explode on you. That's not good at all. Dine and dash, sucker with the bill, bro. You didn't dine and dash intentionally. You pushed her buttons, and when she got pissed off and started trying to beat you up at the table, you ran out the restaurant and left the check with her. That's why it's like, no, it's not good to push buttons. It's never good to push buttons. Make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Um, I wonder what's happening there. Now, we've covered mindsets and preparations, but what happens when, despite all your work, you're sitting there feeling the wave of anxiety wash over you? Your heart starts pounding, your mind starts to race. In this moment, you need a psychological intervention. You need a tool to calm your nerves in real time. And this is going to be our final step, the mindful moment grounding technique. Okay. Grounding techniques pull your attention out of the catastrophic future and anchor it firmly in the present. So this signals to your brain that you are safe, allowing your nerve system to shift from fight or flight to rest and digest. This typically is going to happen when the data is starting to wrap itself up. You start getting anxious, you start getting nervous about where is this going to go? Are we going back to her place? Is she coming back to my place? Are we going to see each other again? All these other things. You're going to start getting a little nervous about that. Here's a simple, discrete technique that you can use anywhere called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. Oh, look at that. Take deep breaths and bag take bag off. Oh, you're talking about breathing in the bag, hyperventilating style. um, you can take slow, deep breaths, inhale and exhale. That is one way that you can do it. If you realize that you're in a situation where you're starting to feel a little bit anxious, if you take a slow, deep breath, hold it in for 2 or 3 seconds, and then exhale, and then go back to what you were doing, you were likely to dissolve the mild level of anxiety, but that doesn't mean that it'll go away forever. It might still come back. You might have to take a lot more deep breaths, but you don't want to hyperventilate and pass out. So the 5 things that you can see, you want to really look: the texture of the table, the light on the water in the glass, the color of the paint. You want to be able to pay attention to these 5 things. 4 things you can feel, like the weight of your feet on the floor, the chair supporting your back, the texture of the napkins. 3 things you can hear, like the low hum of music, the clicking of cutlery, uh, faint traffic outside. 2 things you can smell, the aroma of coffee or the scent of the food in the kitchen. 1 thing you can taste, like take a sip of your drink and really taste it. Don't just chug it. That's almost like the 12 days of Christmas right there. You go through that list, and this whole process can take less than 30 seconds and is completely invisible to your date, but it's an energy and emergency brake for a runaway train of thought and anxiety. So studies confirm that its effectiveness is reducing anxiety and interpreting panic by reconnecting you with the present moment. So if you're starting to have that anxiety attack, you remember you're in Olive Garden, what the table looks like, what the glass looks like, what the light reflecting off of the glass looks like, what the light reflecting off the glass reflecting off the water looks like, what the water tastes like, what the wine tastes like, what the bread roll tastes like. It's soft. It's slippery because you put the oil and vinegar on it, it's the garlic butter stuff on it instead of putting it on your plate. You know, the table was clean, the seat is comfy. You want to lean back and stretch your back on the seat a little bit. You can still smell the food coming out of the kitchen, even though you got food at the table. You're thinking about the dessert that's about to come. You've already covered the bill. You don't know what's going on. You're just chilling out. You can hear the cars outside. That you're thinking about everything around your environment, and you stop being concerned about the future. Another essential tool is conscious breathing, as we just finished talking about, because anxious breathing is fast and shallow. Calm breaths is slow and deep. So if you try box breathing, research shows that it can lower your heart rate and reduce stress and improve your mood. It's simple. If you breathe in for 4 seconds, hold it for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and hold for 4 seconds, and you repeat this step, then you can do this uh, while your date is taking was is talking, or excuse yourself to the restroom for a minute. I see Vengeance. Special shout out to Vengeance from Twitter, from Twitch. How are you? We're doing okay. We are explaining for the last 2 hours uh, the things that you can do to make your first date anxiety, your first date jitters, uh, more calm and concise. So, how are you doing today? Do I give out romance advice? I actually give men advice about just about everything under the sun. Uh, I can include dating advice. I can include relationship advice. There is romance advice from time to time, depending on the topic of discussion. But we work on different areas from first engagement to maintaining a 20-year marriage. We also work on social interactions where we start talking about how do you interact with your friends, how you interact with your family, how you interact with your boss, so that you're not being overly strenuous with those individuals. So there's a lot of stuff that we talk about with that. He said, "Yeah, uh, we are. What is that? Christening, kissering. I guess that's almost like Karen's. Vengeance, what's your story? That's good. Tell us about you, Vengeance. Tell us about you." To select such a profile name, that's a good one. Can you tell us? Can you tell us a little bit about what you got going on today? Make sure that you follow us from the Twitch platform, because I know you're watching us from Twitch. Oh yeah, we're listening. We're gonna see if Vengeance is gonna give us a little bit more. Well, I have a girl, but it's a bit rough. Okay, so what is rough about it? Let's tiptoe into this one. We're gonna see if we can solve somebody's issue today. Michael said, "Run." I had a wise man once tell me that if she is a headache, then she is not worth it and you should leave her. But I also recognize that with lack of communication, you can be frustrated about the lack of information between the two of you. And it is important before you run for you to try to navigate through the misunderstandings and miscommunications through active communication, as I've talked about on my channel quite a few times, which if you come over to the YouTube channel when you have time, a lot of these videos are archived. I know that the last, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks are archived on Twitch, but Twitch has a limited database. YouTube has the last couple years worth of information there. Okay, I kissed her the other day. Mind you, we're only been together a few weeks, and she told me it was boring. What? Man, Michael said run. What was she expecting? Some kind of like Romeo and Juliet kind of kiss? She was expecting one of those Hamlet kisses. Was she expecting like that Triple H and Stephanie McMahon kind of kiss? Was there supposed to be some tongue involved and you forgot to use the tongue? Like what's going on with that? Because technically the first kiss isn't that blissful, passionate thing that you see on Netflix. The first kiss usually, especially when the guy leans in, it's just like hopefully you don't have like the firm duck face, like you're like with the duck face thing. Hope like you lean in and then you just kind of just mush your faces together till your teeth click. That's like the first click. the first kiss if you get the lips. But if you're very subconscious about whether or not she's okay with this and you kiss her on the cheek, you gave her a kiss on the cheek. But what I can tell you is that if she's claiming that it is boring, the truth of the matter is that she was expecting you to do more. She was allowing you to do more, and you were reserved, which is fine. Be reserved. If she wants a better kiss, challenge her to kiss you better. That's how you fix that problem. He said, "What? How old are you, and how old is her? What's her age?" He said, "I guess she wanted romance novel type stuff, and I wasn't making it good enough." Okay, but y'all just started talking. Y'all got plenty of time to practice kissing. How old are y'all? This man been asking y'all, how old are y'all? Because he's 70, I'm in my 40s. How old are y'all? Because if y'all were, um, y'all first kiss is not gonna be the kiss that y'all remember. It was mid 20. Oh, fuck this girl. Okay. Look, young man, look, okay, you have my age and a third of his. Okay, look, let me tell you something real quick. So this might be your first kiss. And if it wasn't your first kiss, tell her that it was your first kiss. She'll give you a pass. If she wants to kiss, she been kissing a bunch of dudes to know what a freaking kiss looks like, or is she going off of TV? Rhetorical question. Fact is that she wanted a more involved kiss than the one that you gave her. The best way to do that is to ask her to kiss you the way she expected you to kiss her and just let it happen. Okay. Y'all been dating for a while. Y'all are gonna keep dating after the bad kiss. You're gonna keep dating after the bad first time that y'all get laid. The one time, because men have levels of anxiety in every scenario, including the first time we have intercourse with a female. So there will be a scenario where erectile dysfunction will happen. It won't work for you because you're overthinking a situation. You're highly anxious. Your blood flow is in the wrong place. And that is going to be, she's going to accept that you're not going to be on performance every single time. The only way that you're going to be on performance every single time is if you're taking one of those little blue pills that'll make your vision go bad. Otherwise, you're going to do what you got to do, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes because men's functions actually are linked to a lot of their emotions. So if you're physically attracted to the girl, you'll definitely be able to perform. But at the same time, though, if she pisses you off, it will shut you down. If she says or does something that grosses you out, if she says or does something that triggers a pet peeve of yours, you are no longer in that mood, which means that you're not going to be able to perform. Now, you can't just outright blame her for it, but she's going to understand that whatever just happened, you're not interested in her anymore. She's going to take that personally, even if it's not her fault. So you got to understand that these things will pass. If y'all are 20s in y'all 20s right now, 20, 22, 25, and y'all got 40 years together because y'all could be in y'all 60s, this moment not going to make a difference. Michael says, you want to do the rocker world, just ask. And if you've never rocked the world before, you could just cradle it. You don't have to, because some people watch too much porn and they expected it to be like all kinds of exuberant. Nah, man. Nah, man. It is not supposed to be like a 3 day cardio workout. It's not supposed to be like a PX90 workout. You're not supposed to go into this scenario a normal man and come out stacked like Chuck Norris. It's not supposed to happen that way. But some people have this fictitious expectation. And it is important for you to understand that you got to be yourself and be proud and confident of yourself. So again, if you did what you did, Vengeance, and she didn't like what she got, you challenge her to do better. Then you know what to expect from her. But depending on how you're feeling on that day, which necessarily doesn't have anything to do with her, you are not always going to give her that same passionate kind of kiss. You might give her a peck on the lips, you might give her a peck on the cheeks, you might give her a peck on the forehead, you might give her a deep kiss, you might give her a mild kiss. It really depends on what's going on. But since this is the first one's never going to be the best one. It takes practice. So don't worry about that, bitch. Just make sure that you guys like and subscribe. Now, These techniques aren't about eliminating your nerves. Oh yeah, she's gonna blame you, even though it is also her fault too. Especially if it's her fault, it's your fault. That's how that works. Lack of accountability. Ah, ah. Now, nerves are normal. They show you um, that you care, and these are your regulators. So they ensure that no matter what, you have the power to return to your center and stay present. And that ability to self regulate is the ultimate expression of confidence. Like I said, is this over a kiss? I think he was here over a kiss. I think he was here over a kiss. I don't think they broke up though. I think that she just didn't like the fact that he didn't kiss her the way she wanted to kiss. So today we've covered a lot from mindset shifts to practical strategies to make it easy for you to put this into practice. I've created a lot of PDFs that we're going to be putting into the members only channel so that once you subscribe to the channel, you'll be able to have access to a lot of this stuff. And it's going to give you like pre-date confidence checklist. We're going to be summarizing all 5 steps so that you can have it on your phone to review before you head out. And you'll be able to use this cheat sheet to um, help boost your confidence. And then I want to go ahead and bring this down. Oh, he says, so you ran. Of course. Of course. Of course. Truth be told, more often than not, uh the the guys are gonna get in there, they're gonna get subconscious about the things not going the way they want it to go, and then they run. Women do the same thing. But the women do not get subconscious. Women get disappointed because things aren't going the way they want it to go. And as a result, they run. The difference between the two is that a man will try to get manly advice from other men, and a woman will be like, "Ah, you ain't shit, dog. Fuck you, I'm out." And that's just not the way it's supposed to go. There goes Cody. Special shout out to Cody D, dining and dashing from way back when. let's bring this let's bring this to a head here. We've deconstructed dating anxiety and rebuilt it into an empowered framework. It starts with your mindset by transforming the date from a high pressure audition into a low pressure exploration of connection and using your genuine self as an authentic filter. There goes Steven, special shout Steven's back. Women blame men for stuff they aren't even doing in some circumstances when they are not happy. Women will find a way to make a man not happy if the woman is not happy. It is guaranteed. The happy wife, happy life method specifically comes from if a woman is not happy, you're definitely not happy. But if she's happy, then at least she's not making you more miserable. But at no point in time is the happy wife, happy life method about the man being happy, which is why I disagree with that method. But the old fashioned men didn't know what to do about it. Cody says, I know, but does know that I am an Indian strong man around the world? Oh my God. Now, the next thing that we stepped into is the practice of executing the unorthodox predate ritual to ground yourself in your own value, having a curiosity conversation plan to foster discovery and mastering a mindful moment grounding technique to stay calm in real time. He said, "You're young. Don't worry about it. Practice, practice, practice. You'll get over it." Oh yeah, he would. If he don't get over it with this girl, he'll get over it with the next girl. If he's not kissing right with the first girl, he'll be kissing right by the 10th girl. I can tell you that. You kiss enough girls on enough dates, you'll end up knowing how to do it. He said, shout out to his boy, Hamid Gohan. Okay. Special shout out to somebody that he knows. I don't know who that is. Hopefully that guy's not on a watch list. I don't want I don't want the FBI to be tapping into my sound system. Computer already glitching out. I want you guys to remember that the goal isn't to eliminate fear. Make sure that y'all use the reaction buttons while y'all are here. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to decide that connection is more important than fear. Confidence isn't being flawless or universally desired. It's the quiet, solid belief that you are enough and just the way you are should be accepted by somebody else. You are worthy of a great connection. So I want you guys to be able to get out there and let them meet the real you without fear of rejection. Oh, Muhammad Gandhi. Muhammad Gandhi, dude. That's not Mahatma Gandhi, but it's close. It's really close. Special shout out to Gandhi, brother. You want to do it? The inside joke from earlier. All right, so I really appreciate you guys coming to tonight's show through all of the kinks that we had with the internet service and the webcams kicking out and everything going completely awry. We still managed to walk through a very long 2 hour and 30 minute show, 2 hour and 10 minutes right now. So I really appreciate you guys showing your support coming to the show. I want to start off by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm gonna keep asking ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. Special shout out to Cody, Michael, and Vengeance and Mr. Satellite. I really appreciate you guys for coming to the show. Also, I want to get an extra special shout out to Bayside and Carl since they're going through some health issues and some family health problems. I want to make sure that we keep our prayers out for those two so that they can pop in whenever they have the opportunity to pop back in. Remember that this is about 70% male podcast for the male's perspective, and I do this to help the men become higher value men. Ladies, y'all can learn from the information that I'm giving you because it's not gender exclusive. And y'all can utilize this information to make yourselves higher value women. We are live 7 nights a week, and we do not let the sun rise without going live. Hit that like button, everybody, every time you come to the show. Tomorrow, we're supposed to be doing questions and comments from the fans. Monday, we're supposed to be talking about how leveraging loans to make money is a thing. Tuesday, we're going to be talking about a dividend only portfolio where we're going to be talking about a portfolio that 100% pays out cash dividends as we continue through talking about our dividend rotation strategy for the rest of the month. You can go to the YouTube channel and hit the notification bell on all of the shows between now and Tuesday that are already listed. So you'll be able to see them and be involved in them and be notified to get involved when the show airs as soon as the show airs. We're going to be grabbing a different country for Wednesday. We're going to be talking about investing and living in different countries. So just keep your eyes open for that as well. And then beyond that, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander. Thank you for coming here where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow night. And Cody, Steven, y'all can come here 2 hours sooner. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground! That's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living.